Hi and welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks on Instagram TV. For those of you who wonder why I start off every transmission by saying I'm on IGTV, because you guys already know I'm on Instagram, right? Well, the reason that I do it is not because I'm crazy. I'm not having a senior moment. I actually will probably wind up posting some of my IG videos onto my YouTube channel, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. So don't judge me. Okay, listen, family, you guys are going to hear a lot about Vallejo PD in the year 2020, because I'm working and collaborating with the family of Willie McCoy, the young man who was shot and killed in a Taco Bell drive-thru by Vallejo PD in January of 2019, as well as a young lady by the name of Jamelia Land, who is very active in all things police abuse in Northern California. And so we have gotten together and we're trying to figure out the best way to eat this elephant. Small bites, right? Little by little. And part of it, I believe, is being very public. I've always been a proponent of going public with things that rub me raw, because I think, I just refuse to allow a rogue cop, an errant officer, an abusive police department agency, if you will, because it's not always just police departments, to operate in a vacuum. And so I'm going to tell you guys, every time I hear something and know something about Vallejo PD, they seem to be the gift that keeps on giving. So I want to talk a little bit about a family member of Willie McCoy. Her name is Deyana Jenkins. And this happened about 2 months after Willie McCoy had been shot and killed in Vallejo. Because listen, part of the problem that continues to be ongoing in Vallejo is that there's a lot of community intimidation by police officers. Small department, small group of officers who are cutting up, but it's very intimidating when you protest, when you attend a community meeting, a council meeting, and you make your position known, and then the next day the police are sitting outside your house, just sitting there, or the police drive by and shine a light up in your windows that face the public street. And listen, these complaints have been going on for well over a year, with the case of Willie McCoy's family, intimidation, and I'm sure that, folks at the top, like the city manager, they understand that this stuff is going on and they do nothing about it. And so you're going to hear me talk a little bit about this new police chief that they have on an upcoming IG video. He's a brother, and I've got a lot to say about that as well. But let me get right into the Deyana Jenkins thing. So here's what happened. It was a little after midnight, and Deyana Jenkins was out with some friends. She's 20 years old, and there was a police officer. The way the story goes is that the officer was stopped doing something else. And remember, they know this family by now. It's been 2 months since Willie McCoy was shot and killed. So they know the family, they know their cars, they know the individuals, I'm assuming, right? It makes sense. Midnight, Deyana Jenkins is driving down the street with some friends. Officer is doing something else, sees her, and he's like, oh shoot. He stops what he's doing and then goes and conducts a traffic stop on Deanna. And you will hear in the video clip the officer accusing Deanna and her friends of doing something that, listen, I don't know if they were really doing what the officer said or not, because let's not pretend like, police officers don't lie when they need to come up with some probable cause or reasonable suspicion to engage you and then exacerbate the situation to a use of force. Watch what happened.
Is the niece of Willie McCoy. You'll recall that McCoy is the rapper who was shot and killed by Vallejo police mid-February while sitting in the drive-thru of a Taco Bell restaurant with a gun in his lap. It is his niece, Deyana Jenkins, who we spoke with yesterday. She tells us a few weeks ago she and her friends were driving down a street in Vallejo when police pulled them over. In this cell phone video, you can see at least one officer had his gun drawn. According to Jenkins, the officer ordered them all to roll down their windows. They asked her for her driver's license. Jenkins said she left her license in another. That's when she says the officer grabbed her arm through the car window, telling her she was resisting arrest. Says she was also tased. In the video, one officer said they saw passengers making gestures towards them, pointing fingers at them in the form of a gun.
Stop! You guys want to drive by, put your hand out the window. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
They were Snapchatting, like, you know, like on their phones, like, hey, like that. It was never hands out the window, like boom, boom. It was never that.
The chief initiated an internal investigation, and we're looking at that. And so, you know, we're not really providing any further statements on that at this time.
The city of Vallejo is asking the Department of Justice to come in and review the police department.
So let me tell you what I know. As a retired 20-year veteran sergeant, having spent all 20 years in patrol as an officer and a supervisor, I know for a fact, because I've seen it done, I've supervised, I've counseled officers who engage in misconduct. And I know that officers are aware that if they say something, they are creating an audio record of something that may not even be occurring. Quit resisting, stop hitting me, what are you doing? And so this officer is aware that he has a video camera on, and so he's accusing these young ladies of pointing their finger at him as if they are simulating a gun in their hand. Okay, so that's the reason for the traffic stop, right? Then he says she doesn't have any ID. That may very well be true, but an officer can get on his radio, call in and request the person's name through DMV to see whether or not they have a valid driver's license. So I get that you're supposed to have your license, you know, in a perfect world, you should keep it with you whenever you're behind the wheel of a car. But if you don't have it, it's not like I can't get on the radio and verify that and then let you go on your way, because listen, I'm here to enforce the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. I don't have to issue you a citation, and I'm certainly not going to exacerbate the situation into a confrontation where now I'm dragging you out the car, which is what he did, which is why when he saw her, ooh, there's a family member, Willie McCoy, let's go have some fun, right? Exacerbated the situation, antagonized, harassed these young people at midnight, because, you know, that's when the elephant hunters are out doing what they do under the color of darkness, and, you know, not a lot of people on the streets to see what's going on. Family, I'm just telling you from an insider how they get down. But I know I'm preaching to the choir, because some of you have been a victim to this, so you already know. Deanna wound up being arrested. Why? Because when an officer puts his hands on you, you will go to jail. They cannot beat you up and leave you on the side of the road. And what's that thing that officers like to do when they put hands on you and they really have no other reason to be messing with you? They arrest you for interfering with their arrest or resisting the fact that they're trying to now place you under arrest. And so that's what happened in the case of Deyana Jenkins. And she's not the only one. There's an attorney up there who's representing several family members as well as other community members who have been the victim of these errant, rogue, over-the-top, drunk with power police officers. Let's take a look.
Everyday people in Vallejo, they believe the police department can and has to do a better job of working with the black and brown community.
Uncivilized, uncouth, gang type of behavior that has to stop.
That's how Delon Thurston describes the Vallejo officers who arrested her while she was driving home from work. That arrest did not lead to any charges. Instead, she says it left her with PTSD.
Seeing a police car for me now, I freeze. Like, I literally freeze.
Deyana Jenkins is also suing the department after she says officers tased her and falsely arrested her.
He picked me up and then just threw me in the car.
Vallejo police had shot and killed Jenkins' uncle, Willie McCoy, 2 months before the traffic stop.
Just listen, don't do any sudden movements, because I don't want this to be my last time living or hanging out with my friends.
Adriane Burrell is the third plaintiff, alleging excessive force after he filmed a traffic stop in his driveway.
I'm not resisting you. I'm not resisting.
Their attorney, John Burris, has filed 14 lawsuits against the Vallejo Police Department in recent years. He says there's a pattern of discriminatory police enforcement against black and brown people.
Now listen, you heard the police captain, you know, doing what they do, speaking company speak, code talk, saying that, you know, this thing is under investigation, and so we're not going to be making any comments because we don't discuss things that are being litigated or investigated, right? That's that catch-all phrase that they always say. And then, of course, they claim to be asking Department of Justice to review use of force incidents in the city of Vallejo. Come on now, under this current administration, asking the DOJ, Fred Flintstone, you know, Bill Barr, to investigate anything that has to do with civil rights abuses, it's not going to happen. And so that's why there's so many people that are seeking redress via a civil lawsuit, because that's the only way that you are going to, certainly not going to be made whole, but you're going to get redress, because at the end of the day, the police chief will adjudicate administratively however he wants to deal with these officers, and in most cases they're not being dealt with. That's why they feel so free to act the way that they do, night or day, because they're not being held accountable. There is no person who was willing, seemingly, to deter this officer's bad behavior. And listen, Deanna's reported to be 5'2", 110 pounds. Does it even seem likely that she would challenge a police officer, fight with a police officer, want to engage a police officer 2 months after that very department had killed her uncle? It doesn't seem likely to me. So I want to share one more clip with you, because you also saw another woman by the name of Delon who was arrested for what I don't know, and a gentleman by the name of Adriane Burrell. I'll show you why he was arrested. But in the case of Delon, who's also suing civilly, she was arrested for something and then the charges were dropped. So this is how you know that in each and every instance the charges are bogus. Police put hands on you, got to take you to jail, charges get dropped, no harm, no foul. Let's take a look at Adriane Burrell.
Why are you taking off like that, man? Huh? Why are you taking off like that? Get back.
No.
Get back.
Nope.
Keep your hands where you can see them. Keep your hands right up. You're interfering with me, my man? You're interfering, so you're going to go in the back of the car.
That's fine.
Okay. Dude, stop resisting.
I'm not resisting you.
Stop resisting.
I'm not resisting you. Put me on the ground then.
If you keep fighting me, I will.
I'm not fighting you.
Dude. Stop fighting, you're going to go on the ground.
You can hear from the video that Adriane's voice is never elevated. It doesn't sound like he's struggling. There doesn't sound to be like there's any type of an altercation other than the one that the officer has created. And let me read to you what their policy states real quickly about recording. Rather than directing an individual to clear the area, an officer could advise the person that he or she may continue observing and recording from the sidewalk across the street some distance away. Policy also lists what supervisors' responsibilities are. Before release of the manual last month, the police department redacted 2 sections of the policy with regards to what a supervisor should do if and when they respond to someone who complains about being harassed, arrested, assaulted in the midst of recording. And so look, this is what corruption looks like from top down. City manager, captain, supervisors. Be safe, be careful if you live in the city of Vallejo. Look forward to talking with you very soon, giving you more updates. Curious to see what this new police chief, his name is Shirley Williams, brother man, came from Oakland PD. Curious to see what exactly it is that he's going to do. Until next time, family, be good and be safe.